Okay, hi. There we go. Oh, no, the cat's gone. Bye, cutie. Good lord. Hold on. Let me get in my chair. Alright. Wait, I gotta fix the lighting. Ah! Da 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 da. La da da la da la. Nope, not there. No, that's too dark. I just, alright, you know what? I wanted to take it from a different angle, but this is where we're at. Alright, I'm gonna do this while doing my makeup because I felt really called to post this message. And I was like, let me wait till I do my makeup. But I don't want to wait. So we're just gonna rock and roll while I'm doing my makeup here. All right. I want to talk about like actual spirituality and the angry woman archetype and grief. These are all things that have been coming up for me. This needs to be wettened. Wettened is not a word. I feel like I'm gonna. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that'll work. All right. Grief and anger and the angry woman archetype and repressing emotions and why it feels so fucking horrifying to like show your true self. Hold. I keep being told to show my true self, and you know, after a lifetime of having to repress my true self for various reasons, it's gotten to this point where it's like I don't even know. Sometimes I feel like I don't even know who I am anymore. And I do have a good relationship with my inner child, but I'm now developing a better relationship with my inner teenager. And it's making me just realize, first of all, I want to talk about things that repress women and all of our essence, various things. And then also like how society likes to say that women have, you know, mental health issues, where in reality, I think we're just living in a patriarchal society that gaslights us for having intuition. Hold on, I need a mirror also. There we go. All right, so you're just gonna have to deal with me from the side angle here. So yeah, you know, accessing my true self and what all of this self-discovery has made me realize is a lot of people only like you in one particular version of self. So like, for example, if I show up and I'm, you know, accessing my inner child and I'm all like joyful and bubbly and playful, like great, like people, you know, who's not gonna love that love and light side of me? But it's really made me realize like how I fear my own power and why I do. So, and I'm sharing this so that just so I can resonate with other women, because I think that's like what's most important. But yeah, like, you know, people talk about healing, people talk about spirituality, people talk about love and light, and no one wants to talk about the grief of losing your old self because you realized that it was performative, and coming home to your true self and how much loss you have to endure in the process. So, you know, I quit one of my jobs because it was just not in alignment with me, and it made me realize a bunch of things. It made me realize how narcissistic dynamics kept happening in my life, etc. All these things, but I don't want to get into too much about me. I really just want to talk about why women fear their own power. And I want to talk about anger, and I want to talk about grief. So basically, the more that I step into my power, my most empowered self, not just the love and light aspect, the more that I honor my anger, my inner teenager, and allow myself to go through the grieving process, the more I have had to give up more and more and more, you know? It's like, you think like, oh, you'll come home to your true self and people will like you, but it's actually like the more that you embody your true self, the more you lose. Oh, hello. Because you lose everyone that expected you to perform. And it's extremely, you don't, that's dumb. All right, whatever, I didn't need it. But when you stop performing, you lose everyone who expected you to. And with that brings so many realizations and also so much grief. It makes you realize how many people just wanted you in their life for what you could do for them as opposed to who you really are. And it's this ultimate dismantling of self, because you're like, who the fuck am I? Like, who am I without these material possessions? Who am I without these people in my life who have been here forever? And it's, you know, it's so much rejection that you have to go through. And it also shows you like where you've been rejecting yourself. So just to give you like a quick thing, I'm an oracle. I am a witch, okay? I am intuitive as fuck. Can we get rid of this fucking monkey butt over here? Get out of here. You're ruining the shot. Anyway, hence my shirt. But I'm intuitive as fuck, and what I've realized more and more as I step into my power and I step into my intuition is like how much stepping into your power, and particularly as a woman, is so threatening to people and systems and literally everything that at least Western civilization is built off of. And so the more that you step into your power, the more it becomes this dichotomy or this separation of like feeling like you're doing something wrong, because you're like, holy shit, like the more empowered I am, the more that I come home to myself, the more that I'm not afraid of these shadow aspects of myself, the more I'm losing everyone, the more that I'm unable to fit into paradigms and systems and, you know, just go with the flow. People fucking love when you're easy and you go with the flow. And when you become more difficult by honoring yourself and respecting yourself, it can create this like paradoxical state of being where you're like, your mind questions like, am I doing everything wrong? Because everyone and everything keeps rejecting me the more that I feel good about myself. And it's like, what the fuck? That's fucking whack and that's insane. And like, so then your brain goes, am I doing something wrong? But your soul knows that you're doing something right, because if you don't do that, you get depleted and drained. And the truth of the matter is, the more that you embody all of you, the more you become a mirror to others that show their repressed truth. But they're not in a state of consciousness, and this is no judgment, but they're not in, God, there's so many fucking layers. They're not in a state of consciousness where they can recognize that about themselves, so it's a lot easier to unconsciously project onto you. And then like me, as you know, women have, hold please, not to make this about me, women have like an extra perceptive ability, essentially intuitive perceptive ability. I forget what it's called. It's like I don't know what it is. It's not coming to me right now. But we have this like extra energetic like layer of being able to pick up on energies and, you know, mood shifts and all these things. And, you know, you can call it empathy, you can call it being an empath, whatever you want to call it. But like, we have this in us. And the patriarchy relies on us to deny that within ourselves. And so real quick, things that I got off of that made me more sensitive and more perceptive, I guess, to these energies, etc., was getting off of birth control. And also I stopped smoking weed because I used to really smoke a lot of weed. I used to smoke a lot of weed. And what I realized by getting off of both of these things was, it was like, you know, a huge awakening where all my senses then came online. And I realized how much of my truth was being denied, even within myself. And all of these repressed emotions that I wasn't aware of were coming up to the surface. And with that, it started this entire like grief process where I was extremely emotionally unstable. I was having panic attacks. The only reason I ever got on birth control was due to hormone imbalances. And doctors were just like, oh, birth control is the only option. And so I got on it just so I could function, right? But that is literally the definition of survival mode, right? I did it just so I could function in society, and when I got off, I realized how much I wasn't able to do that, at least not in the old ways of how I was doing it, and it leaves you in this weird liminal space where you're like, okay, I'm not that person, I'm not a people pleaser anymore. Due to not being a people pleaser, you lose basically everyone. Who relied on you to be that and play in that role. And the more that you evolve and change and transform, the more that you lose people, because they're not everyone can come with you, as they say, right? And so it starts this entire cycle of like awakening to unprocessed grief while simultaneously, it was 1:11 on the clock as I said that, while simultaneously continuously going through more grief. And again, like, it just creates this paradox where you're like, am I doing something wrong? Because I'm losing everyone and everything, and you just have to keep going. And it's an insanely disorienting and isolating process, really, and you realize that the majority of people can really only handle some of you, right? They can only handle like 15% of you when you have so much depth. And as you're creating space within yourself and having the capacity to hold all of you and all of your depth, like, I'm a Scorpio moon, okay? There's a lot of depth here. But I've been realizing like how much I've been gaslit and, not able to show that depth because it didn't feel safe to. And as I am opening up more and more to exploring that depth and showing that depth, it's becoming more and more apparent why I didn't feel safe to, because a lot of people don't have the capacity to just explore that depth with you, right? They can only handle the 15%, and it becomes frustrating, and I have to constantly like check myself within this, because it becomes frustrating because you get to a point where you can see that they don't have the capacity to go that deep, and so you don't judge them for it, but simultaneously you understand that like you can understand them because you've been where they are, but they can't understand you because they haven't gone as deeply as you have. And you can use all the words in the fucking world and it doesn't make a difference, because it's not going to resonate with them, because they haven't, unearthed themselves, if you will. They haven't cracked themselves open and like gotten, I'm just like imagining like literally just like taking off this fucking skin suit and like getting into the like nitty gritty and all these webs within you to find the core of who you are. And they haven't gotten there yet, and maybe they never will. And you can see like, okay, I understand why they haven't gotten there, because it's fucking terrifying, and because it causes you to lose everything and, remove illusions and remove the people in your life that actually aren't there for you. You're just keeping them out of a false sense of security because you're scared of being alone. And then the more that you do this work, the more alone you are, and it's like you're processing through this grief. The grieving process in itself requires so much time and energy that a lot of systems and people, etc., don't understand or don't support, don't have the space for. And so the external world is constantly asking you to speed up and do things quicker and just, get over it and just work and and essentially like put yourself back into the very system that caused you to repress all of these emotions and whatnot to begin with, and didn't allow you the space to process through the grief entirely while you're also grieving. And it creates this ocean of grief and isolation, which forces you to rely on yourself and to be, you know, your own best friend and your own biggest advocate. And, you know, then every now and then you come across someone and they resonate and they're in alignment and you're like, fuck yeah, dude, sick. But it's like these breadcrumbs, and then the majority is just this fucking noise of people who, you know, want to say that you're crazy because they haven't been through what you've been through. And like, good for them, dude. It fucking sucks. It both like sucks and is great, I guess. But it's like, yeah, man, it causes so much grief. It causes so much fucking grief and so much misunderstanding. And then also balancing that with like knowing that you don't want to go into what's the word? A trauma responsive hyperindependence, and you understand hypothetically, theoretically, whatever, conceptually, there's the word, that you're a human and you need to rely on other humans and you're supposed to all help each other out. But you also get to this level of discernment where you realize, like, most people just, like, you're not for everyone, right? And it's going to take you a little bit longer to find your people, and especially, like, on your path to self-discovery. Oh, my kitty cat, she's so beautiful. Oh, I love her so much. You should see her. She's very cute right now. She's always very cute. Oh, I love you, baby girl. While you're on your journey of self-discovery and you're, like, getting rid of all these old masks, etc., like, it is going to be breadcrumbs, right? Because you're, like, getting rid of the noise and becoming your true self, but it's also, like, this back and forth kind of, like, okay, the old stuff will come up, and then you have to consciously clear that and step more into yourself. But until you've fully integrated, confirmation burp, it's going to keep being breadcrumbs. And in that meantime, you have to rely on yourself, and like be basically like your biggest support system and your biggest advocate, right? And that confirmation burp, and then, you know, just going through all this grief and going through this processing, it's like, it's difficult to do it alone and you want support, but again, you're at such a vulnerable place where, like, you don't want just support from anyone. Because for the fucking love of God, if I go to one more motherfucker, I don't care who the fuck you are, if I go to one more fucking bitch who tells me to just get over it, I'm not gonna do anything about it, but, like, big time fuck you. I have gone to quote-unquote healers who have literally made things worse. I went to this one healer and she was like, just get over it. Like, when people tell you to just get over your whatever the fuck and you have, like, you know, complex trauma, like, it is the most invalidating thing that someone can tell you, and it just makes me want to tell them to go fuck themselves repeatedly over and over and over, and then get hit by a car and then reverse Uno that bitch back over that motherfucker and then hit him again. And, you know, and it takes, like, so much strength to not want to do that, you know, and then you have to find healthy outlets for your anger. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, is, like, anger, right? And how it's demonized. And as I personally have been processing fuck tons of grief, it has made me realize, and, like, stepping more and more in my power, it's made me realize not only how terrified I am of my own power, but also, like, how much I need to love my anger. And I do. I'm getting there. I am getting to the state of loving my anger, and I really fucking do. I love my anger because it shows me where I'm being disrespected. It shows me where people are not for me. It's information, right? But especially as women, we're taught we're not allowed to be angry. Or we're taught to just fucking get over it. And it's like, bro, there are so many things, or we're taught to, like, numb and desensitize ourselves, right? And it's like, no, like, anger is extremely appropriate, and it's a very powerful emotion. And if you can wield it, consciously to create or express in ways that are healthy as opposed to destroy, it is an amazing and beautiful tool. And I think that is really... Oh, my kitty! Hello. Isn't she pretty? Look at her butthole. Oh, there we go. Now you can see me in all my glory. Anger is such a beautiful thing, and I love my anger so much now. And it has been such a journey to get to this point of loving my anger. And even with that, it is still so terrifying. And it is so terrifying for me still, as I'm realizing, to really like step into and own my power. Because, I mean, various reasons. I don't really want to get into, you know, the nitty-gritty and the trauma dumping of my life, but let's just say I've been gaslit quite a lot. Hold, please. And, you know, it's really like just through various multiple experiences, and I know that many people with past experiences with narcissists, etc., have feel the same, or with abuse, because like you start talking about your abuse and people don't have the time for it, people don't have the space for it, and more often than not, you end up carrying the shame of the perpetrator or the abuser, and they just get off to do whatever the fuck they want. And so it's like consciously, you know, not taking on other people's ish and recognizing your emotions and your energy in someone else's, and consciously choosing to not play the fixer in these situations, but then also simultaneously realizing that when you don't play those roles, how much it costs you. And it's things that are not in alignment with you, right? So it's not that it's costing you anything bad, but it but it is like a grieving process, and it is it's hard to wake up to realize how many people in your life, knowingly or unknowingly, only liked you in a particular role, or again, like only liked what you could do for them. And so, yeah, like the reason I say all this, the reason I felt on the clock, the reason I felt called to make this video is, A, I've been dealing with fuck tons of grief. We're not gonna get into that. But B, I had a conversation with someone this morning, and he asked me what I did for a living, and I was like, oh, like I'm an artist, like, you know, and that's really easy for me to talk about. Like, I'm an artist, I make crop tops, I make jewelry, like I'm a very talented artist, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's so easy for me to talk about. But then I was like, and I read tarot, and like that made me so terrified to even talk about. But it's like, that's where my power lies. But I've been so gaslit from my intuition time and 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 time again, that even though I know now that I can trust my intuition and that I'm always clocking that to you immediately, it is still such a block for me to talk about one-on-one. And even like, okay, making a video like this, okay, like this is just going out into the internet, into the void, but like actually having a conversation with someone about what I do and my intuition, and all the nuances of spirituality that most people don't go into depth about, is like, I realized it was like terrifying for me. And he was like, that's kind of scary. And I was like, yeah, like, and it made me realize like how afraid I am of my own power, due to me consistently stepping into my power and seeing how much loss that requires, right? And, you know, even though I have the higher perspective that like, okay, those things were not for me, like those people, places, etc., they weren't for me, if they're gonna fucking gaslight my intuition and not listen to me. But also, like, you also have to go through it. And that is something, that's like a theme that has been reoccurring in my whole life, is like, I'm almost always to a T able to see the higher perspective of everything. If someone hurts you, it's like, okay, well, they hurt, you know, they're obviously fucked up, you know, hurt people, whatever. But that in itself overrides or bypasses my own emotions that go with it, which is, you know, anger, rage, sadness, pain, etc. to just go to that higher perspective immediately, but it's bypassing. And so as I've been really allowing myself, and I thought that I expressed my emotions pretty well already, and I do, but it made me realize how much still I had not fully processed through. And lost my train of thought. And so yeah, it's like you have to go through it. You know, you can't just get over these things, you can't just bypass them, because they will come back to you eventually. But yeah, it just made me realize, like, you know, it's no wonder that people are afraid of their own power, because it costs you this matrix life, essentially. Like, stepping into your power will cost you friendships, etc., because a lot of people really can only handle like a sliver of the depths of your being and of your wholeness. And while it's good information to be like, okay, they're not for me, like, whatever, like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm gonna use discernment, not open up to them, etc. It's also like, it just feels like you're like continuously being kicked, right? And it feels like it's unsafe to express your depth and to express your power and to express your fucking rage. But like, what happens if you don't is that then you abandon yourself, and you know, you're not being honest, really. And so I'm right now, been so angry lately, and I am just loving it. And it is terrifying people. And I am really just more and more like sitting in and learning to love the discomfort, and realizing, like, okay, that a lot of discomfort isn't even mine. It's like that person's discomfort with my power, and with me being okay with my anger because they're not okay with their anger. And like, just kind of like loving, basking in that discomfort, and, you know, just really recognizing, like, this is not mine, and I'm not going to take it on as my own. And kind of, I guess, like, getting exposure therapy through that, and then also allowing myself to express that anger in different ways. But even with that, it's like, it's kind of this pinball effect, if you will, of like, I express my anger and I feel really good about it. I make, you know, some sort of creative outlet, and I feel really good about that, and I feel really good about speaking my truth. But then, like, a little bit of time goes by or something, and then I feel the need to edit myself, you know, because I'm like, oh my gosh, am I being too much? Am I being too angry? And then having that higher perspective that, like, those are the parts of myself that I was taught to reject, and that so many women are taught to reject about themselves. Or really taught this, you know, very performative, way of femininity, essentially, where, like, you can only be this love and light, like, super feminine, like, fucking eat a bag of dicks, like, whatever the fuck that means, you know. It's like this very performative, basically, like, girlhood expression of femininity. Yeah. And so the more healing that I've done, the more I've realized, like, yeah, people are super cool with me showing up as, like, my inner child, right? My inner child's very playful, and she's fun, and she's super bubbly, and she's super lovey and lighty and blah blah blah. And, like, yeah, she's a cutie pie, right? I mean, I'm a cutie pie, and I like to show up in that very playful, loving, compassionate energy also. And I can hold the space for, like, my inner teenager, which is really, oh, my kitty, the work that I'm doing now, where it's like, my inner teenager was fucking pissed off. My inner teenager was pissed the fuck off, and rightfully so. And so it's like, I'm validating that anger, and I'm validating the anger that no one validated me for. And instead, people just, like, told me I was too emotional, told me I was crazy, told me I was too much, blah, 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 blah. And it's like consistently healing those wounds while also running into people who still want to, like, highlight them, essentially. And yeah, just kind of realizing, like, okay, yeah, like, the love of light and light version of me, like, of course everyone's gonna be cool with that. She's super positive and love and lady and whatever the fuck. But what about the other aspects of me, right? I don't want to hide them. I don't want to repress them. I don't want to pretend that they don't exist, because they do. And just allowing space for all of me to exist. And then realizing how uncomfortable it makes other people, and then just like being okay with that discomfort. But yeah, like it's very weird. Like, we live in a society where women aren't really allowed to show their anger because it scares people. And yet I think a lot of women's power lies in their anger. And so it creates this dichotomy. I don't even know if I'm using that word right, of like being afraid of your own anger. And yeah, I'm just like over that. I think anger is a beautiful, powerful tool if wielded correctly, and I think more women in particular need to hold space for their anger. Hold space for their anger. And I think more men need to hold space for their sadness, because this is something that I see happen too, where it's like, I think men will unconsciously project their anger onto women, who will then take it on as their own and become sad. And, you know, underneath the anger is pain, right? So it's like allowing space for the pain, but allowing yourself to feel the anger to get to the pain underneath it, first and foremost. So yeah. I don't know. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I think that's all I have for now. So I just wanted to talk about the importance of anger and why coming home to yourself and actually doing this like real deep internal work is important, but it's also like alienating and isolating. And you know, just the, I cannot figure out the word that I'm looking for, but just the state of being that it puts you in, where you're like aware that you're a human who needs other people, because we're social creatures. Hello, kitty. Come on. But then also realizing that like, if you have to have discernment with like who it is that you want in your corner. But yeah, it's really interesting. It's just really interesting to watch the more and more that you step into your power, how threatening it becomes to other people, and how if you're not okay with identifying that and not identifying with it, the fuck? I said that's so weird. Let me rephrase that. I don't know, I just lost it completely. But like, it's just like, yeah, like just observing, I guess, like the more and more that you step into your power, how many people and places, etc., like keep falling away, and how, you know, you can be in one state of being and everyone will love you, but when you show more of yourself, even though it's from a place of empowerment, if the person or people that you're around, if they haven't gotten to that more embodied state of sovereignty, it becomes very threatening to them. And so then you're the villain or whatever. But then also, like, you have the capacity to realize that like no one's a villain, and that you can be any person at any time and hold any state of being at any time just as much as anyone else can. But then like also knowing that like these other people don't have that level of consciousness, and it's not from a place of ego, it's from a place of like knowing yourself, and the deeper that you know yourself, the more isolating it can become, because you realize how many people don't know themselves that deeply, right? Or are unconsciously repressing or suppressing for the sake of survival. And so you don't blame them for it, and you know, you realize that it's much more of a systemic issue. But then also just having to constantly like, I don't know, it's kind of fucking exhausting of just constantly being like, that's not mine, that's not mine, that's not mine, like, give it back, like, give your energy back, like, that's not mine, like, you're projecting, give it back, give it back, give it back. And then also, like, you know, like, identifying your own triggers and whatnot, and like uncovering them. But yeah, like, just get to these points where you're like don't want to abandon yourself anymore. And in the process of not self-abandoning, if you're used to like codependency or anything like that, it can be very isolating. Yeah, and then also having the balance of like, again, realizing that like you can't do everything yourself and you do need help, but you want to get help from people who can actually help you, and where you don't have to like over explain yourself to the nth degree just for them to still not fucking get you. It's like I'd rather just work with the right people, but I understand that I am a master of none and that I have specialized skills and abilities, and these people do too, and we can work together, but they have to be willing to work with you. And I think that's really what it's all about, is like being able to find teams and systems and people, or like create your own systems, but like people who you can create systems with, right? Like people who can work with you, where if there are discrepancies, you're able to harmonize them or clarify them. Yeah. But also, like, I don't think you can do that with just anyone and everyone. I think there's a certain amount of resonance that needs to take place, and as you're healing more and more, you realize like the, I don't know, old people and energies, etc., that will like pop in periodically, and then you're given opportunities to be like, no, no, that's not for me. And then just choosing more of what is for you. But when you're in like the great dismantling of self, at first it can be very disorienting, and you don't really know like what is for you. And so you have no other option but to focus on you and figure out like what it is that you do and don't like, because a lot of times like the old things that you like also don't resonate anymore, and so you're like in this liminal space of like, that doesn't work, but I haven't found the thing that does work, and it's like weird. It's a weird space to be in. But I guess it's like purifying, right? I guess that's the emptying, the dismantling and the emptying. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to say all this, and if you're a woman and you're on birth control, I get it. I really, really do. But being off of it has made me realize how much it was hindering me. And same with smoking weed. It really made me dissociate a lot, and made me numb, right? Look at my cat. She is so beautiful, the most beautiful kitty in the whole world. Like, obviously I'm a witch. My name is Sabrina, and I mean, she's gray, but I have a dark cat. Yeah, but if you're a woman and you resonate with like the divine feminine and the wild feminine archetype, and you work with goddesses, you know how isolating this path is, and you realize how many forces are actively trying to not allow you to step into your power. And then you see it play out where like entities, etc., will like go through people who are close to you to try to minimize or manipulate you, and you just have to constantly be like, that's fucking bullshit, I'm not falling for that. Yeah, I think that's all for today. I think that's it. I think this was a good little talk here. But yeah, I just want to say, like, I just want to honestly like offer some compassion, because I've been having to really offer a lot of compassion and empathy towards myself, where it's like, you know, of course it's taking longer. Like, of course you need more space and time than the systems in place want to give you to process through all this grief, and to allow yourself to really consistently, consciously come home to yourself and step into your power, because it feels like you're fighting against systems that want you to stay small, basically, and people and places and energies and everything. And so I really just wanted to make this to say, you know, like, if you're a woman who is processing through grief or is coming home to yourself and realizing, I mean, you can be a man too, like, whatever, like, whoever wants to watch this video, you know, I'm open to it. But like if you're processing through profound amounts of grief, and in order to find yourself, and in order to deconstruct and recreate new identities based in authenticity, I just want to like send my condolences and my compassion to you through this video, and for myself and for you, and just hold space for that and let you know, like, I see you, dude. I fucking see you, and I understand how disorienting and heartbreaking this can be, and how isolating and alienating it can be, and how it can feel like you're on the wrong path because things around you keep falling away. And I guess it's like they say, like, it's falling apart to come together, or whatever the fuck the cliche sayings are. But like, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to offer my condolences and my compassion for both myself and for anyone who's moving through these really nuanced, unspoken about processes of grief and dismantling and recalibrating. And I just want to say I love you, and I see you, and you're not alone. And I think that is like the biggest takeaway and the biggest reason I wanted to make this video, is because it does feel so alienating and disorienting, and you know, it can feel like no one around you gets you, and it can feel like no one has the space or capacity to hold space for you, or has the capacity to hold, you know, heart-based compassion or whatnot, like, for you. And yeah, I just want to say you're not alone, and I'm not alone either. And it can be very disorganized and dismantling, and I'm not saying the words I want to say now. What was the word I was looking for? Disorienting. It can be very disorienting, and I just want to offer so much grace and compassion with you as you're moving through these very disorienting, difficult, confusing energies and emotions at this time. And that even if you are going back and forth between the old and the new, or having dissonance between your head and your heart, and your brain might be telling you it's wrong, but your soul is telling you it's right. I understand, and you're allowed to take time and space and grace for yourself to grieve, regardless of what anyone else says, and you're on the right path, even when it gets confusing, even when it gets disorienting, even when it doesn't feel safe, and even when you're questioning everything. And you're not alone in this process. And keep going, because I'm gonna keep going, even though it's been really, really difficult. Yeah. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. If you would like to book a reading or one-on-one intuitive guidance session, I am really fucking good at what I do. And it brings me so much joy to be an intuitive guide. And I work best with people one-on-one, particularly with those who are navigating transitional phases in their life. This could be, let me just list my services. This could be leaving an abusive relationship. You know, been there, done that. Moving across the country, been there, done that. Leaving your job to pursue entrepreneurship, been there, done that. I don't like people who claim to be professionals but don't have real world experience. That shit pisses me off. So anything that you need help with, I will help you, because I've been through it. And I will tell you, if you don't feel in resonance with me, or if I don't feel in resonance with you, if there's not like a match there, I will let you know, because that matters to me more than anything else, is like real, recognize real. And if you feel called to work with me, I would love to work with you. And if you don't, that's totally cool too. I'm really not about forcing things to fit together, because it's not meant to, right? And furthermore, like, someone else will be in resonance with you. But yeah, if you'd like a one-on-one session, I do one-on-one guidance. I also offer 3-card, 5-card, 10-card tarot readings, but really how I would prefer to do things is to just have a one-on-one session via Zoom or Google Meets, and then I will most likely incorporate tarot into the session. But I'm an oracle, I'm a channel, so the way I channel through messages, it comes through a little bit differently for each person. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's movies, whatever, like, you know, again, things will come through as they come through and what's meant for you. So if you feel in resonance and you want to book a session with me, you can go to my website, womanofwolves.com, and book a session. Or you could email me, or you can text me. All my contact information is on my website. Blah, blah, blah. Thank you for joining. And I am manifesting that this finds the right people at the right time and really resonates with you in your soul. And if it doesn't resonate, I don't even know why you're still here. I should have said this in the beginning. If it doesn't resonate, leave, you know. Take what resonates, leave the rest, as they say. Don't force it to fit. But yeah, I really just wanted to make this to offer some compassion and condolences to anyone who's going through it and feels alone in their portion of going through it. Okay, I'm gonna go eat food now. And if you, oh yeah, and if you want some crop tops, some call it hysteria, I call it intuition. If you want some crop tops, they're available for sale on my website. If you want earrings, I haven't figured out to sell these on yet, but just DM me and I'll fucking ship them to you. Etsy doesn't like me, so that doesn't seem to be working, but we can make it work. We can make it work. I'll send them to you somehow, some way. I also have music available through Woman of Wolves on all streaming platforms, and you can buy my fucking sick artwork that I have. No. I have, there's none near me that I could show you, but it's pretty fucking dope. So that's also available for sale on my website. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for joining. The last thing I'll say, since I won't shut the fuck up, is that I did have a previous YouTube channel, but it was literally in the midst of me, like, going through a bunch of shit and having routine panic attacks, so I didn't feel that the material was... It just wasn't what I wanted it to be, so I deleted my YouTube channel, and now I have a new one. And I've got a new haircut. So, new haircut, new me. Just kidding, it's the same me. It's just a deeper version of me. Where I'm screaming into the void and enjoying contained catharsis and expressing my authenticity and allowing myself to feel rage. All right, sick. I love you so much. Thank you. Bye.